All right. Well, welcome back. I am Dr. Corey Howard, a board certified internist and anti aging functional regenerative medicine specialist and a normal human being who is here today to talk to another normal human being, my son, who's made some big changes, Benji Howard. He likes Benji, not Benjamin. Benjamin's like what happens when he's not doing well. But in either event, what I wanted to do today is highlight some of the stuff we've been talking about, which is primarily looking at your nutrition and fitness and your mindset and how that is so incredibly vital to your success. And every single one of us, I don't care who you are, has to have regular consistency in order to accomplish anything, whether it's studying, whether it's exercise, whether it's a relationship, whether it's food, whatever it is, you've got to do it consistently. I don't mean consistently eat all day long because that's not going to work. We're going to hop right into this. So let me give you a little bit of a backstory here. My wife and I are into exercise on a regular basis. She's been more consistent with it than I have been because I've come up with excuses like many of you. That's why I think that we can relate to each other. But in either event, you go through college. And what happens? I mean, you have a good time, hopefully, and you learn some things, hopefully as well. But you overindulge in a lot of things. And so what happens is, and it happens to all of us in college, it happened in medical school, is that, everything's about pleasure. So you want to eat, you want to sleep a little bit longer, you want to indulge in some other activities that we don't have to get into. But in either event, it does leave a toll. And so you gain weight, your fitness level isn't as great as it should be. But at some point in time, there is an aha moment. And that aha moment is something that I think we all get, like, is the pain of being the way I am enough to make me want to change? So it's all pain and pleasure type principle. And so when the pain is enough, either I don't look good enough, I don't feel well enough, I am not able to sleep, I've got issues, then you begin to make a change. And that change is the beginning of something for the rest of your life. And I don't want to make it like, oh, all of a sudden we're so perfect and it's going to be great forever. Nah, you'll go back and forth for a while, and that's okay. Just understand you can always go back and start to do it. So my special guest today is my son, Benji, and we'll kind of go into his story a little bit after college and living in Tampa in his apartment and seeing the light. So here's a question for you, Benji. What was that moment that made you finally say, enough is enough, I am not going to do that anymore, and I am going to do this? What happened?
I think that one thing that people need to do to get their aha moment is to go through one day of counting their calories and their macros. So I was going through, I kind of just wanted to get a little more fit. That's all. I rolled out of college a little heftier than I was at the start and a little more unhealthy. So you actually suggested I start tracking my calories. So I used an app, started tracking my calories. You find that, that one piece of bread adds up, that one drink that you have adds up. And, when you're in college, those couple drinks that you have add up over a couple years. So you just find that these little things continually add to more and more. And then, you see that you're not having enough protein and you're having way too many carbohydrates and not the good kind either. The breads and all those things that, really just I tried to take out of my diet because it wasn't helping me. I was feeling a little more inflamed, eating a lot of pasta. So I was looking at a lot of, Instagram videos and YouTube videos on how to clean up and, what I should be eating for protein and carbohydrates, what my carbohydrates should be, what they shouldn't be, what my protein should be, what they shouldn't be. So that would definitely be my first step. I'd say at least know what you're looking at, know what you've been eating. And a lot of these apps and, now ChatGPT can also help, and, doctors as well. But they can help tell you.
Not so much doctors, by the way. Anyway,
Well, at least ChatGPT.
much better.
But it can tell you exactly, you know, what you should be doing, and get a little bit of a workout regimen. And like you said,
But before you get into the workout, let me just key on a couple of things. So I think it's important. So if you were to eat a half of a bagel, which is about 150 calories, more than your body needs per day, you will gain a pound every 3 weeks. That's how sensitive the system is. It's pretty much just a physics formula. There's how much your body burns per day, how much output you do in the things that you do, and it depends on who you are, your age, your underlying fitness level, and things like that. But it's easy to gain weight, and it's much harder to get it off. I will tell you also, as you get older, it's much harder to get it off. But a couple of things that you talked about, I think, are really important. I want to talk for just a second on inflammation, what your perception is about that, because I think that'll connect with a lot of people that in your age group, and also the amounts of different foods. Now, we talked about a little bit before, and everybody's got a little bit different spin on it, so I don't think there's one way to do it. But the big concept is a little bit more protein than carbohydrates to start with. I kind of like to look at 0.6 grams per pound of protein. I think that's a good starting point. Some people like 0.8, some people like a little bit more. It's controversial, but it's nothing to argue about. It's just splitting hairs there. And then the amount of carbohydrates, probably around 30% to start. I think that's a good idea. And you avoid, simple sugars, cookies, cakes, candies, breads, pastas, things like that. Although I will say that different flours from different countries are a little bit better. So if you have semolina flour that's 00 or something from Italy, it's better than our stuff. But just in general, reducing that is a big key. And realize that a lot of foods that you eat that are normal, fruits and vegetables per se, they do have substantial amounts of carbohydrates. They're offset by the fiber content in it. So, you have to kind of look at that, because there's carbohydrates and then there's net carbohydrates, which is kind of the carbohydrate load that you have minus the amount of fiber that you have in your diet. So that kind of helps as well. So back to just one more thing before we get into the fitness part, because there's a big transition there too that you had, is inflammation. So tell me a little bit about that. And again, let me give you a little bit of background for people, is that, sometimes you have a lot of aches and pains in your body and you don't know why. And it very well could be something like a food allergy. I mean, that could be. It could just be the inflammation generated by your body fat or by the foods that you eat, not necessarily because you're allergic to them. So what happened there with inflammation and your diet change and things like that?
Yeah, so I had health issues that had given me a little more joint inflammation than most throughout my life, and rolling off of a little less healthy lifestyle, I definitely added to it. I remember senior year of college, my buddies all wanted to run a half marathon, and I told them I literally couldn't run at all because my joints would be so inflamed I wouldn't be able to walk for, a long time after, and it would just cause me too much pain. So, but I think that's also, related to the lifestyle and maybe health issues or whatnot, but it's also really related to what I was eating and drinking and all of that sort of thing. I personally found that, when I cleaned up my diet a lot, I didn't really have those inflammation problems like I used to. I was able to, you know, run further, work out harder. And, another big one was my blood pressure. I wasn't able to, really reach my peak breathing capacity and, blood flow that I could. So I think those, working out slowly and more, eating better and better and better, it kind of just, snowball effect, as you say a lot. It snowballs into making you a much healthier individual overall for workouts and for, lifestyle in general. I've found, during those years, I would sleep and my shoulder would hurt in the morning and I'd be so inflamed, and I was questioning why that was and what my underlying health problem was. And it was really just that I was unhealthy.
Yeah, lifestyle.
Yeah.
So the reality is that lifestyle medicine is really the key to health, right? So lifestyle medicine is something we've talked about before. It's the interplay of how you really define health, which is nutrition, fitness, sleep, stress management, the environment, and relationships, how you think about it, and your genetics. So that kind of We have other podcasts that you can watch to take a look at the details of those. But that's the essence of lifestyle medicine, which literally could save millions of people. No question about that. And we talked a little bit about how inactivity is really bad. 10% of the population dies simply from inactivity. But in this particular instance, I think we have to highlight the fact that, somebody identifies that they don't feel well, and without people pushing, because, if you push somebody to do something, they're going to do this, push you back the other way. What you have to do is you have to go kind of away so that they come more towards you. That's just a technique that you can do to help motivate people sometimes, but ultimately the motivation has to come from within. But the bottom line is that you start to feel better, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You start feeling better. So for example, being able to run. I'm pretty sure that you weren't able to run 30 plus miles when you started. You're young, so you could walk, you could run, you could walk fast, you could probably run, but you probably couldn't run the way that requires real athletic ability. So the other thing is that we hear a lot of stories, and I think that Benji might be able to help us out here a little bit. Busy professionals. So you're starting off in a business and you want to just be like, let's go, because you want to get stuff done. You want to establish yourself. You want to create something new. You want to not have to work for the rest of your life at some point in time. You want to have money working for you instead of you working for money. And so that brings in the entrepreneurial spirit. And I think the entrepreneurial spirit is brought out by success, and success not only in the business you're in, but success in your personal life, because it all will snowball into each other. And so what happens is that the more success that you have, success will follow success. And even if you have some failures, you've got enough success that you can keep going over those bumps in the road. And so, Benji, your current job is
I work at a private equity real estate startup.
private.
So
Okay, so private equity real estate startup, which, these days, tough business, lots of stuff going on, obviously, and we don't have to get too much into that, but busy. And so, how do you manage that? What happens? I mean, what does your day look like, basically?
yeah, I mean, I've personally found that, I used to like sleeping in a lot. It's not really possible. Because even when
Why not?
you have obviously a full day of work, and if you're starting your own business, I'm sure, as there's more work than you could possibly imagine doing, and as you've known your whole life as well, running your own business, but there's more work than you could ever accomplish in one day, no matter if it's a finite amount of items. There's a million other items that still need to get taken care
So
of.
does that make you feel like a failure if you're not completing everything in one day?
No, but I
Because of
think
what?
actually going out and accomplish things every
There you go.
day
Yeah.
is what makes you not feel like a failure. So personally, I found it best. I am one of those guys who's been doing 2-a-days for a while now, and I've just found that,
Exercising twice a day.
yes, and I've found that it fits my schedule the way that I like doing it. Some people, the people that you see on Instagram generally are, they're super fit and they're like, yeah, I do this and that, but realistically, they're working out all day long and exercising all day long, when it doesn't fit a normal person's schedule.
The question really is, what does your day look like? So you wake up, you make your bed, which is you
I do make
accomplish
my bed every
something,
morning.
right? So that's really important,
I've said that a lot. I like accomplishing something right when I wake up.
right? And so
Yeah.
that's a big thing. Make your bed,
Yeah.
and then you go to the gym. And what does that look like?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty difficult to wake up and just like do a very long workout. I find myself, I like, getting a little boost in the morning. So I'll usually do 30 to 60 minutes of cardio, whether that's biking or, running. And usually one day a week, I'll have a really long run in the morning. So I'll do, 1 to 2 hour run, whatever that ends up being for my schedule. But, a part of that does come with having to wake up early and having to go out and actually do it. So I usually get up somewhere in, 5:30 range on a normal day, and then I'll do some cardio and then shower, make food, go to work. So,
Making food, making sure that you're monitoring, measuring, you get what you
yep,
need. Okay.
getting nutritious food in the morning as
Then you
well.
work.
Yeah.
And then whatever happens during the day, you make sure you have a lunch, and
Yep.
we'll talk about the nutrition part some other time. But then after work, what does that workout look like?
Yeah, so I'll usually end work and then I find it best that I go right to the gym after as well, or else, a lot of people will end up saying I'll go in a couple hours, and that's why they don't end up going to the gym that day. So you just have to go right after work, and then I usually have a lot of things that I still have to accomplish throughout the day. So whether it be more work for, you know, my main job that is my main focus, or the other things I'm doing on the side, small businesses I'm trying to start up for, you know, personal fun and everything along the way that I just enjoy with it, that I get to do. So there's always something to do, and maintaining relationships and maintaining my friendships with other people and whatnot. So you find all these little things that you have to do during the day that isn't on the normal schedule.
So here's a question for you. Um, Most people watching might say, "Oh my gosh, there's no way I can do that." But I'm getting a sense that after working out, you're not that tired. You're actually somewhat energized. So it's the opposite of what people think. When you go exercise, if you go in with the mindset that I am going to be exhausted afterwards, like I said, whatever you think, that's what you're going to feel. You go in with the mindset that this is going to energize me to do what I love to do, then it's not really a job anymore. It's really what you do, right? So you're loving that and trying and working towards something new. It doesn't mean that you're not going to change, but this is something that is ongoing. But now you're somewhat energized, and you go to sleep being satisfied because you woke up, you accomplished your goal, made your bed, worked out, worked, made sure that you followed your food, cooked and cleaned, which is also a big time suck for a lot of people. That's why they have an Instapot. I think that's a good tool. But in either event, the ability to do that and keep doing it. So the question that I have, and this is actually a question for both of you, what keeps you motivated? How do you keep that going? So in a nutshell, what would you say to these young, you know, entrepreneurs that are trying to start off like with what would be your word of advice to them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the first thing with it is just the fun aspect. At the start, it's terrible, and if you've listened to, people like David Goggins talk, he still thinks it's terrible, and that's why he does it. He does it because, you know, at one point in his life he wouldn't, and he would use it as an excuse. So it's mental fortitude is
Well, John F. Kennedy also said, we go to the moon not because it's easy, but because it's hard. So, that to do things that are hard, and Eleanor Roosevelt also said, do something that scares you every day.
yeah.
So, that's a key aspect to this. But, again, young entrepreneurs, what would you tell them? Hey, listen, just go and do it, or create a plan, or what is that? And then maybe throw in your little bit of information on your new Instagram page, which is what, Protein Eatery.
Yeah, I have that now. I might adjust it to more of a health page in general, depending on.
I think it could be helpful to people.
Yeah, yeah, and I definitely want to include the food aspect of me, showing them, my macro splits and what that looks like, and then on top of that, I'd also like to include, the workouts and things that I do, and I like to do it from a perspective of I'm also a normal human. I do a lot of things on the side. I don't spend my entire day working out and eating and making everything perfect because it's not realistic. Um, I think that going out and doing those things, one of the things that I love about it is the consistency aspect. It really builds a schedule for you. And I found that, when you're in college, you're waking up at, 11 a.m. sometimes, and, you don't have a schedule, and, whenever you always think that your schedule's so full, and then you get a little bit older and you're like, I had so much free time. So then you realize that all those little moments that you had, you don't really get those anymore. So it builds some sort of consistency in your schedule to do these things. And I personally would say that regarding building a business and exercising during it and maintaining your fitness, if you overplan it, you will not get anything accomplished. If you go into it saying that it needs to be Amazon, it's not going to be Amazon. You're going to end up sitting on the couch the rest of your life. So I would say little steps along the way, those are what matters. You go out and you do a little bit here and there, and eventually you'll build something great. I would hope. And, I would hope I do that for myself as well. But I think taking those little steps and not, having everything figured out ahead of time is positive.
Scheduling, consistency, finding ways to success. I mean, those are incredible things. And so I think that we have an example here of a young professional who found a way to reverse whatever it was. Not that anything's perfect or it's not going to change over time, but found a way to really help. And I hope that helps you see that it is possible, because things you did in the past don't define what you can do in the future. You can literally do anything if you put your mind to it. And it's not just thinking about it. You actually have to take action. And so never leave the sight of a good idea with taking an action towards its completion. Otherwise, it will never get done. So I think the moral of that story is looking at your habits, consistency, and making it go. And so I'm Dr. Corey Howard again. It's my pleasure to talk to you with little tidbits about your life and health. Give us some comments. I'm happy to respond, and have a good day. Take care.